So if you're watching, I'm gonna go ahead and get it started here in a minute. If you want to go ahead and leave a comment, just like to see who's in here, make sure to leave in the comments. But this definitely should be a good podcast. So if you have any contributions, make sure you go ahead and let me know in the comments. Or if there's anything that you think I'm gonna be missing when it comes to this specific topic, make sure to leave it in the comments as well. KJ, you already know what time it is, man. Appreciate you for stopping by. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get it started here in a minute. So leave your comments. Yeah, sir. And like I said before, if you're watching this right now, make sure to go ahead and leave a comment. Like I said, we got a live chat. So if you have any comments regarding today's topic, I want you to go and leave in the comments. If you have any questions, if you have any specific comments or things that you think I'll be missing, I want you to go and leave in the comments as well. But I'll get it started right now in a minute. Give me a second. All right, if you get the timer, we're going to go ahead and get rocking, man. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. On today's episode 132, we're going to be discussing a topic that I've researched for the last 5 years and a topic that I'm actually surprised that I haven't yet mentioned on the podcast. Today's topic is female nature. So, like I had mentioned, if there's a specific question or if there's a specific thing that you think I should mention on today's podcast, make sure to leave in the comments whether you're watching this or watching this live. I'll be having multiple parts to this just because this is a topic that has interested me and has puzzled man for the longest time. So, yeah, definitely should be a good one. A few things I want to say before that. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, just Life of a Champ podcast on there, as well as make sure you go ahead and tap in with threads as well, right? Just Life of a Champ, and then with a dot and underscore. Make sure you tap in with that for sure. I'll be posting a lot of game on there, so make sure to tap in with that. Other than that, yeah, make sure you leave a like on my YouTube shorts as well as my YouTube clips. I'll be posting more of those very, very soon. Other than that, Jaden, appreciate for stopping by. I have a lot to say for today's podcast, and unfortunately, I don't have as much as I would like, neither. But I still have I do have a lot to say. Like I said, I'll be making a part two to this. So, like I said, if there's anything that I forget to mention, definitely leave it in the comments if it's afterwards for sure. So today's topic, like I said, female nature. I'm going to be going over the things that I've observed in dating, as well as just observing females from obviously a distance. I think there's gonna be a lot that is definitely interesting and something that I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot of things that maybe you haven't observed within female nature that I have observed or I have learned. And ultimately, what I want to say is this: I feel like a lot of men nowadays, more than ever, kind of resent women for the way they are, right? And I believe that is probably one of the biggest reasons that like misogynistic acts and things like that happen is because um, man truly just it, they just don't understand women, so therefore they try to hold women to this standard when in reality they just need to accept women for how they are and stop trying to change them, right? Obviously, every woman's going to be different, but I do see a lot of men, unfortunately, resenting women. Maybe they can't get women. Maybe women just don't like them. Whatever the excuse is. Regardless, at the end of the day, with me giving this type of podcast, I'm trying to do is inform you of women of how they are. Okay, and you should never try to love them for whatever they'll never be for you. Right? You must accept it as what it is and move on past that. Because if you try to complain, you're gonna get into some murky territory. So that's what I'll start. All right, first topic I have to say, and this is gonna be a huge one. And like I said, if you're female, maybe you can disagree with me. And like I said, everything's up for discussion with this specific podcast, with all my podcasts. So the first thing is this. This is a point that I've heard, and I'll be referring to this book a few times on this podcast. It's called The Way of the Superior Man. One of the best books that I've ever read when it comes to the masculine and feminine dynamic, as well as just getting educated with how women move, how they operate on certain topics and things like that. One thing he mentioned is this common value that men have when it comes to just being a man of your word, and how that's not exactly the same ideal for women, right? Which is definitely interesting because you would think, you know, this woman is an adult. You expect to hold her accountable, right? That is the logical rational reasoning, that you should say, okay, she's an adult woman. She should be able to, be a woman of her word, right? Now, what I will say is this: women are a woman of their word in only a few actual settings. So, one, for example, right, and I think this is the main point. The main point I have is this: women say exactly what they mean in the moment, right? And their emotions also play a huge part within whatever that decision or whatever they mean in the moment actually means, right? And with that being said, as you know, with all women, their emotions can change, right? This is also going to vary for a lot of different things. So, if a woman says something to you, she means it truly in the moment. Now, if she goes ahead and the next few minutes, next few hours, next few days, next few weeks goes ahead and changes what she originally said, you can't exactly hold her accountable because women change. Women's emotions change, and it is simple as that, right? I feel like a lot of men, and I've even caught myself doing this a few times, where I really try to hold women accountable to their word. And then a tendency that I've seen is a lot of women, they don't value it enough to try to make it like um something that is as prioritized as men are with their word. Obviously, if you're not a man of your word, you pretty much mean nothing, right? You're not keeping up with the word. Why should anyone believe you? But women, I would say, more often than men, kind of get away with this. If they're not a person of their word, it kind of just goes slipped under the rug, right? Like I said, that is just the way that I personally see it, and not only have seen it within my own like personal experiences, but taking the observations of other men, and also, just being an observer from afar with how these certain dynamics kind of play out in society. But yeah, what I will say is, when it comes to women being a person of their word, they're nothing more than just saying exactly what they feel in the moment. That's all it is. That's all it will ever be, and you must take it as that, and not trying to hold women accountable as you would hold another man accountable. There's a reason it's called a man of your word and not a woman. Jaden, yeah, you're right, you're right, and yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. All right, give me 1 second. Getting to the next thing, and like I said, if there's something that I say that definitely intrigues you, I also want you to leave in the comments, because there's going to be a lot of things, like I said, that might contradict some of your previous beliefs, but these are going to be things that I've researched from time and time again, things that I've seen through my own personal experience, and also things that I've heard from other men when it comes to this specific topic. So another thing that I've observed time and time again, and I could give you a few examples for this, but the main topic is this: women have impulsive tendencies, and for the most part, if she has a strong masculine frame to rely on, she's going to be voided of some of these impulsive decisions. But nonetheless, I do believe that women are definitely more impulsive when it comes to life than men are, right? You could say that's an unpopular opinion, but I can give you some examples. Two-thirds of the consumer's debt is from women. So that just goes to show you, things like online shopping and things like that are definitely some impulsive decisions that women make. For example, let's just say your girlfriend goes to the store. She's like, "Oh, I need to pick up 3 items," right? If you watching this, hopefully, maybe you're a man, maybe you're not, right? Let's just say you're a man, right? If you go to the store and you have 3 things that you need, maybe you'll walk out of the store with about 5 things, maybe. At the very least, 3 of those items, right? And I know, of course, there's going to be some women that disprove this, but I know there's some women that go into the store for 3 things, come out with 11, 12, 15 things, damn near go grocery shopping. Oh yeah, I seen the commercial for this. Oh yeah, I seen this online. This girl had used this in this one TikTok, and then they're all buying fucking 15 things when they only needed three, right? Women are more impulsive. They have more impulsive tendencies. Um, and that is just something that I observe. I've observed this time and time again, whether it's my mother, whether it's my sister, or whether it's just women in general, right? Even observing like shows and things like that, right? I feel like women are just they're just more prone to have these impulsive tendencies that maybe a man would say, well, let me think about that. They're more like less think now and more let's just get this in like instant gratification, right? Which I'll get into very shortly, right? And a lot of these things, I don't want to be making it seem like I hate women or like I'm trying to like demean them or like trying to put them down at all. These are just, trust me, I love women, and I believe that's like I said, men just need to accept women for what they are. And like I said, if you for whatever reason disagree with some of the things that I'm talking about, feel free to try to disprove me and leave it in the comments for sure. But getting into the next thing, when it comes to female nature, this is an interesting one right here, right? When it comes to female nature, and I'm gonna say this is probably going to be a little bit more prevalent for younger women, right? A lot of women, especially younger women, are drawn to men that are able to give them the variety of emotions, right? And this kind of goes with attraction, right? I would say this is something that I also have observed and have researched for the last 5 years. But when it comes to observing the way attraction works, um, now me personally, I'm gonna explain this to you, and I don't fully understand it myself, but this is just something that I've seen time and time again. And when you talk to a lot of people about relationships and things like that, especially getting into the more toxic relationships, you'll see this tendency play out time and time again as well. Um, they're drawn to men that are able to give them the variety of emotions. I've even seen, and I have observed this type of content because this type of content's been in the type of space that I've researched for the last few years, and also found as entertainment. But there's a lot of toxic tendencies that men, for whatever reason, try to market to other men when it comes to the dating. And one of those things, and I've seen it work, and I wouldn't say I've consciously done this myself, but something that I would say, let's just say, um, I've seen a lot of women respond very, very well to this. Unfortunately, like I said, this is going to be giving them the variety of emotions. So being the happiest moment of their day and potentially being the saddest moment of their day. The last thing you want to do, and I've heard this, and I'm sure you watching this probably heard this before. The last thing you want to do is bore a woman, right? That is automatically going to kill attraction and going to kill anything that is not desirable or that isn't desirable to women. So like I said, the last thing you need to do is go ahead and bore her. And like I said, I've seen a lot of tendencies within men and how they kind of go about dating that I would also suggest are toxic ways of going about dating, but nonetheless they work, right? So like I said, being her happiest moment and also being her saddest moment, but nonetheless, if you're a guy who, let's just say, is a nice guy, right? Maybe you're not going to give her that extreme negative emotion, and maybe she gets bored with you, right? Um, that is just the way it is, right? I didn't make it this way, and I wish it wasn't this way. But when it comes to attraction in general, like I said, I've observed this a little bit more in women, but I feel like this also works for men as well. Women who are able to give the variety of emotion to men as well also kind of toxically do better with their partner um, choice. And I do believe that there's certain tendencies that if you see in women or if you see in men that are semi toxic qualities, it might be a red flag. It might be a red flag, but nonetheless, yeah, I would say women being the more emotional breed out of us, out of men and women. I do believe that if you're able to give them the variety of emotions, and I would say don't do this in a super toxic way, but it definitely works. It definitely works. Like I said, don't I would say don't do it intentionally, but um, that is just female nature. Female nature is just going to be one who is emotion filled. And with that being said, that is just one of those things. Like I said, you can consider that toxic. This is just nothing more than an observation. I don't try to use this myself because I know that the person that I'm trying to attract is not going to be the most receptive to some of these toxic tendencies. But that is just something I observed. The next thing when it comes to female nature, um, This is a good one. This is probably one of the best tips I have for kind of de-escalating a woman's let's just say intense emotion. When it comes to, let's just say she's feeling sad or feeling mad or feeling any negative intense and negative emotion. The how would I describe this? The remedy that I have for this is going to be one of the most consistent remedies that I have um for, let's just say, the woman that I'm dealing with, right? This is going to be a consistent one that I have, if I haven't practiced it, it's my fault, but this is going to be giving her physical touch, obviously with consent, of course. But this is going to be a good remedy to more of her emotional moments. I've heard a lot of men talk about this time and time again when it comes to, let's just say she's feeling upset, or let's just say she's feeling sad. If you're able to give her that physical reassurance, she's automatically gonna feel more comfortable, and this is gonna bode well for you guys, both of you guys. So when it comes to that female nature, even if okay, no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. But yes, physical touch is definitely going to be a great remedy to kind of settle some emotional waves. And I do believe that is going to be that is going to go hand in hand with being the emotional rock that women need for their emotional waves to crash onto. And I do believe that, let's just say, for example, a woman is maybe not the happiest with you. If you're able to just give her a hug, give her a kiss, whatever, and then from there it should be at least a little better. And I'm not talking about sexually. I'm just talking about in general, just having any physical touch, like I said, hugs, cuddling, whatever it is. It's definitely gonna be working in your favor when it comes to de-escalating that excessive, or not excessive, just intense emotional reaction. So that is just something that I've observed personally. Works out good for me. So I'm gonna say these two things. I'll say the first one. These are tendencies that I would say are what you would typically say as a positive attribute, but I do believe that if you have these if you have these excessively, they can definitely hurt you. But these are things that I've seen within women. So first thing first, I see a lot of women who are um, loyal to a fault, right? Loyal to a fault. So there's going to be certain conversations that I've had, especially with younger women, where they'll talk about a man that's cheated on them, and they've stayed with that man, trying to fix the man, whatever it is, but nonetheless loyal to a fault, showing loyalty to a fault. Um, and this is only going to be with some women. Not all women are like this. Not all women are like this, but there are some women who are loyal to a fault. They just cannot help it, right? Like I said, I've talked to women. They're like, "Well, he cheated on me, and I stayed." And like I said, this isn't just a one-off situation. I've talked to maybe 5 or 6 women who've talked about their man cheating and them staying. And obviously, like I had mentioned, do I recommend you taking advantage of a woman in that way? Definitely not. Definitely not. But nonetheless, it is just an observation of female nature. Female nature is very, very, very loyal, and to the point where it might even hurt them that they're that loyal. But nonetheless, that is just one of the beauties of female nature in general, right? The next thing with this is I do believe some women are they have a little too much empathy to a fault as well, right? They stay in situations or compromise themselves by staying in situations that may inflict drama into their life. And yeah, I would say it's just as simple as that. Let's just say, for example, they're too nice to want to say truly what's on their mind, so they might cover it up with something else. Maybe they feel for that person, so they're more willing and able to understand certain things, even if it compromises them. They'll go out of their way to just let their empathy take over. I'll just say that, right? And like I said, at the point where it definitely can compromise them in certain ways. Maybe they're, let's just say, and this is going to be an element of empathy in my opinion, right? Let's just say your girlfriend, you get sick, and your girlfriend still takes care of you even though you're sick, and actually risks herself getting sick herself, right? That is going to be one of those moments, or like I said, whether it's your mom, whether it's your grandmother, whatever it is. I feel like women have this type of tendency that even if they could potentially compromise themselves, they'll still go ahead and do it, because they feel so much empathy towards that type, or towards that person, right? So that is just going to be another element of female nature um, that I observe. These next few ones, these next few ones are interesting. Like I said, if you're rewatching this, I want you to go ahead and leave in the comments if there's any specific, um, if there's any specific things that you think are worth mentioning or questions that you have that are worth mentioning regarding female nature. I want you to go ahead and leave in the comments. The next one is women naturally love to gossip. All right, this is going to be a tendency of female nature that I've observed, and I'm sure everyone can observe this. They like talking about people. They like talking about drama. They like watching shows about the craziest things because it's interesting to them, right? But nonetheless, I do believe that women naturally love to gossip. And when it comes to this, sometimes your woman will try to gossip with you on a few different things. And I do believe that you should, as a man, try to avoid as many of those gossiping moments with women because um, honestly, they're boring to men. If I'm being honest, right, I feel like a lot of men think that they're boring, but nonetheless, I do believe that it is definitely a part of female nature and definitely contributes in an interesting way to society. But nonetheless, women love to gossip. Like I said, I'm not letting you know anything new with that one, but nonetheless, I think it needed to be worth mentioning. Now, this is going to be another interesting one that I've seen time and time again. Whether, like I said, whether it's in dating, whether it's my dating life or somebody else's dating life, nonetheless, I do believe this is um something that is relevant when it comes to female nature. Women naturally want to spend more time with men than men do with women, right? And with that being said, I've dealt with some women in my dating life where they could see me every single day, right? They could see me every single day and have no issue. But nonetheless, but here's the thing: just because they have no particular issue with that doesn't mean that there's no issue um, that can be coming out of that situation. With that being said, I want to mention this because I feel like a lot of people they don't know this. They don't know this, and this is going to be the downfall of a lot of relationships, unfortunately, because they don't understand how the attraction dynamic truly works. But if you're a man and you see your woman, let's just say 5 or 6 times a week, she's not going to be as attracted to you, and you're not going to be as attracted to her as you guys should be to each other. If that makes any sense. And the way that I love to describe it, and this is something that if you've heard me talk about this, you probably heard me use this example before, but I haven't used it in a minute. I don't think I've used it on the podcast either. So there's going to be this economic law that I heard about, but this exactly applies to uh, the way women work as well, and the way attraction works as well. So the law is called the diminishing marginal utility. Basically, it's something that I learned in my senior year, but the way that I apply it is, uh, or the way that it is applied, the law states that the more a customer buys a certain product, the less satisfied he becomes with this, or he or she becomes with this product over time. So, for example, let's just say you're buying ice cream. Let's just say you're eating ice cream for a month straight, right? The first day you having ice cream, you're gonna be like, man, this is the shit, man. The first 3 or 4 days, wow, I love ice cream. I'm on top of the world. Now, you're not gonna feel the same way. Let's just say the same way you felt in the first week is not going to be the same way you felt in the last week about ice cream. You're not gonna have um this wow moment, this aha moment that you have when you eat ice cream because it's something that is just so like it's just so familiar that it doesn't give you that same level of satisfaction as it once did, and that kind of goes hand in hand with attraction. And you can implement this. You can implement that in many different ways when it comes to attraction, but I do believe that if you excessively see your partner, your level of attraction for them will go down naturally go down because there's going to be less surprise, there's going to be less stimulation, there's going to be a lot of different things that go hand in hand with attraction, but I do believe is diminished unfortunately when it comes to seeing them. And like I said, ideally it wouldn't be a factor, but nonetheless it is a factor, right? Whether you like to admit it or not, it is a factor. With that being said, like I said, I do believe women naturally like to spend more time and want to spend more time with a man than men do with women, right? Yeah, I would say it's as simple as that. Getting to the next thing, these are going to be two very very big things that when it comes to female nature, these are two things that have been around on the internet for the longest time. When it comes to dissecting female nature, so of course I have to bring up both of these things because with me learning about it 5 years ago, the type of stuff, the type of content that was out 5 years ago is a little bit different than the type of content that's out right now. But nonetheless, I do believe that I still need to mention that because it's something that I learned. Number one, there's this term. It's used any when anyone talks about female nature, any YouTuber talks about female nature, they usually run into this type of topic. This type of topic is going to be hypergamy. Hypergamy, if I had to describe it, is this: women like to date. They like to date across and above dominance hierarchies. Now, what does this truly mean, right? Hypergamy is this: women want to try to find a man that they believe is higher value than them, right? That is just something that they do. They want a man who's taller, stronger, smarter, being more decisive, maybe a little bit more confident, maybe a little bit more funny. Ultimately, when it comes down to is this: when a woman is hypergamist, naturally most women are hypergamist. They're looking for the best man for them, right? Or the best man that they can attract and actually retain in a relationship. That is hypergamy. Um, and a lot of men will blame this. Will blame that being a part of female nature as why they cannot attract women. When in reality, it's probably something a lot deeper than that. But nonetheless, this is something that I do believe exists, and something that I've seen time and time again. And also with this is going to be another one that I do believe that women are not going to exactly like me saying this, but nonetheless, y'all can say whatever. I've heard plenty of women say that they don't believe this, but I just think it's bullshit because I've just seen them prove themselves wrong time and time again. Even with the same women. The craziest part about it is I've seen women disagree with this point and also still believe in this point, which makes no sense at all. There's this term, like I said, this is another one of these female nature terms that is definitely commonly used. This is going to be pre-selection, and here's how I'll describe pre-selection. Pre-selection is this: let's just say, champ, I go into a club and I go in with 5 women, right? All these women are my friends, right? All of them are my friends. Now, by me having these 5 women around, automatically I'm going to be able to attract more women because women see a man with an abundance of women. There's a lot of things that could be signaled about that man that would suggest that he is a man worth talking to, a man worth getting to know to an extent. Okay, so for example, let's just say, and women will say, I don't like a man that all women like. That's bullshit. Don't ever hear that shit out. I've heard women say that. Don't believe it. I don't believe that at all. Because what you find to be attractive in a man is probably something that other people are going to find attractive. So therefore, you can never say, "Oh yeah, I like to go for people who are not attractive to other people." Like, no, if you're attracted to them, odds is somebody else is going to be attracted to them for that same type of reason. But nonetheless, like I said, pre-selection. I'm going to go back to it. I've seen it time and time again. There's going to be plenty of high status men that can get a lot of women, and a lot of women see that, and they'll still go after that man. They'll still go after that man, and they won't even act like they'll try to make it seem like it's not a contributing factor to why they like them. But uh, and I've heard this used as well, and I do believe this is. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that actually. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. But nonetheless, pre-selection is a thing. If you're a man and you can show abundance through maybe you being around a lot of women are gonna get off to that. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, nonetheless, I do believe that this is something that is um, a real thing. A real thing. If a lot of women see you with a lot of women, or if a woman sees you with a lot of women, there's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of things that you could be that could be signaled. Maybe you're very good at comforting these women. Maybe you have a lot of resources. Maybe you have maybe you're funny. Maybe you're super confident. But there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason why women like being around you. And a lot of women are very, very curious, so they try to find out themselves, right? But yeah, I would say that is definitely an interesting one, and I've heard time and time again women say that doesn't exist. Okay, well, there's gonna be a lot of celebrities that a lot of women like, and a lot of women like that man because other women like that man, right? So, for example, the perfect example always is Michael B. Jordan, right? Michael B. Jordan, let's just say 10 years ago, no one even heard of him, no one really cared, right? But now you see a lot of women like him, and just because a lot of women like him, now even more women like him because a lot of women like him, right? That is that pre-selection. There's certain things about this man that that can be signaled through him having an abundance of women. That's just what it comes down to. I feel like this has to do with being more masculine. If I was with the guy who was shorter, he wouldn't seem as masculine to me compared to someone who's taller. Yes, yes, that's yeah. Of course. I'm trying to relate that back to the point though. Um, I'm gonna assume you're talking about the hypergamous aspect. Yes, I would say that definitely is definitely very very prevalent. If you're watching this on Twitch, let me know in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, also let me know in the comments. If there's anything that I haven't yet mentioned that you think is worth mentioning when it comes to female nature, I want you to go and leave in the comments as well. All right. This next one is going to be an interesting one. Like I said, a lot of women are going to take offense to this, but nonetheless, it still needs to be called out because I just see it too. I just see it too much. When it comes to female nature, one of the most interesting points that I haven't yet made that needs to be made is this: women will do anything and everything to avoid being a social outcast. So what this looks like is how do I describe this? Women will knowingly compromise themselves just to fit in, right? I would say they're what I would deem to be some women. This is some women. This is a lot of women. This is most women. I would argue, right? They're herd thinkers. If they see somebody doing something, they're more likely to go ahead and do it, right? Um, how do I want to describe this? Yes, I would say women just like to fit in. They just like to fit in. I can't give you the greatest example of what this looks like, but I just if you know what I'm talking about, please try to give me an example in the comments. But how do I want to describe this? Because like I said, I'm not giving you guys enough. I'm not giving you enough information on this. I'll just say this: men are more likely to not follow trends than women. And with that being said, let's just say a woman observes five women. Let's just say there's this new type of dress that comes out, right? Cool. This new type of dress comes out. She sees four women. Let's just say there's five women. Your woman's one of them, right? She sees four women with that. She automatically thinks, I have to get it. I have to get it, right? If there's let's just say let's just say you watching this, you're your man, right? There's four other men that have whatever is the most trending thing, right? You're not automatically gonna think, oh yeah, I have to have that. I want to fit in. You're just gonna be like, oh, that's cool, and maybe you get it, maybe you won't. But I would say more often than not, women who observe other women having a certain thing, like I said, maybe it's a trending thing, or maybe it's a different way of doing something, right? If they're not hip to that, they feel like they're a social outcast, and they will do anything and everything to avoid that for sure. Hector, appreciate for stopping by. Yeah, like a Prius at a car meet. Yeah, like I said, maybe that is. I'm not too familiar with car meets, but maybe that is definitely prevalent. But nonetheless, I would say it's interesting that like I said, they're herd thinkers. They're herd thinkers. So if they see one thing, they're more likely to go ahead and pursue that same type of thing, right? Like I said, whether you hate hearing that or not, this is just something I've observed. I've observed this within my mom. I've observed this within all women in my life, where they'll do whatever it takes to not be a social outcast. Men, like I said, are more capable and more willing to be a social outcast, right? They're a little bit more willing to be out of the know of certain things because they just don't care, right? I feel like the women care because it's a part of their like the way they function socially. So therefore, they're gonna try to do whatever they can to go ahead and fit in. And of course, there's gonna be plenty of other examples you can use even for men when it comes to trying to fit in, but that is just one that I observe. Another thing I want to mention, like I said, this might be controversial. You might not like to hear this, but nonetheless, this is in my opinion a fact. Women are the biggest victims of instant gratification, and the reason that they are is because they have little to no repercussions for indulging within that. Um, so yeah, I would say it's as simple as that. So let me break that down. Instant gratification. Don't skip KJ's comment. Okay, I haven't. Let me get into that. I'll get into that, and then I'll get into my next point. I really didn't even see it. I haven't ever went on one date with this girl, but she texts me and she always Snapchats me. How do I not sound desperate? That's a great question. Um, Text her when you can. Don't overtext. That's a good question. I feel like the reason why a lot of guys fumble in that type of position is because their attention becomes too easily accessible, and that for whatever reason is not the most appealing thing to women, right? Ideally, the right woman is going to respond well in that regard, but unfortunately, most women, through my own personal experience, do not exactly um, function that way. So when it comes to, let's just say she's consistently texting you back and things like that, the way not to sound desperate, just care less. If I'm being honest with you, just care less, right? Um, yeah, don't put her on a pedestal. Don't feel like you need to respond to her right away all the time. Um, and also, like I said, just don't get too excited, right? Because one moment, and this is something that I know very very well, and I know too well, honestly. Sometimes with women, things go great, and sometimes they might look like they're going great, and automatically they'll be going bad very very quickly. So don't let your emotions be ran by that or dictated by that, because that's obviously not a good way to live. But nonetheless, like I said, just care less. That's all I really have to say. Care less. Don't try to be too overly bearing with how you respond. Don't send multiple text messages back to back to back, and only engage as much as she engaged within the conversation. Right, match her energy. If she's super into the conversation, also be super into the conversation. And if she's not, be super out of the conversation. Be dry. If she's dry, be dry. That's all I gotta say. But match energy. Getting into it, like I said, women are the biggest victims of instant gratification, right? So you'll see a lot of women who maybe they have impulsive they have let's just say they have a tendency to do drugs or something like that, right? Um, I'm trying to think what are other instant gratifications? Maybe like materialism. Materialism is going to be a side effect of instant gratification, or instant gratification is a side effect of um, materialism. But with that being said, I'm gonna say this point one more time, and I said it before. Women are the biggest victims of instant gratification. And like I said, the reason for this is because there's little to no repercussions for them indulging within that. If you're a man and choose to go for instant gratification, life will let you know very, very quickly that, hey, buddy, you're not gonna live the life that you want to live if you keep making these certain types of decisions. Now, with that being said, if you're a woman, you can do some of these certain things, and it may not affect your ability to go ahead and find a partner, but that is going to be one of man's biggest uh, things that he pursues in this life, is trying to find a woman, and the only way you can do that is to not be a victim of instant gratification. So that's what I'm saying. You see these women that are eight, nines, and tens that could literally be a degenerate all day long. Do all types of drugs, or do anything that's instant gratification. Go on their phone all day, whatever it is, and they're gonna have little to no repercussions because, quite frankly, they're how do I describe this? They're what makes them attractive is it not avoiding instant gratification, if that makes sense. That their life will not hit them with as many repercussions if they choose to be one who's tempted by instant gratification. But like I said, men, this is why it's strictly female nature. If you're a man and trying to indulge within instant gratification, like I said, life lets you know real quick, they're not going to be able to live the life that you want to live if you choose to do this. But women, on the other hand, they can still live their same exact ideal life, attract the same amount of partners, same quality of partners, by um, being a victim of instant gratification. But nonetheless, like I said, I don't think this is even up for debate when it comes to instant gratification. But women and female nature just thrives. Um, sadly thrives from being a victim of instant gratification. But that is an existence that I do not know of because I'm a man. So it's as simple as that. All right. This next one is going to be a pretty obvious one, but nonetheless needs to be mentioned, right? I feel like women are natural followers, right? And they want to be led, and you can tell this by their inability to want to make firm decisions. So if you've ever had a conversation with a woman, she's never going to give you a firm decision. If you ask a question, let's just say one of the biggest most defeating questions that you could ever ask a woman, "Hey, where do you want to eat?" Never do this. Never do this. And if I do this time and time again, I know damn well it's not the right decision to do. With this being said, like I said, women are natural followers and they want to be led. They want to kind of go with the wave. They don't want to be the wave. They want to go with the wave. So if you're trying to figure out where to eat, right? and you ask her the question, right? Don't first never ask the question. You must do one of these two things: either give her options to choose from, or just pick for her, right? A lot of women, and this is something that I've seen time and time again. Like I said, not only within my dating, but with just dealing with women in general, they're much more content with you picking than you giving them the anxiety of them actually trying to think about what they want. They would much rather have you just pick and live with whatever decision you make, and it's as simple as that. So, like I said, let's just say, hey, what do you want to eat? Change that question to say, hey, we're going to eat here, or hey, do you want to eat at this place or this place, and then have them make the decision. But unfortunately, when it comes to making group decisions and trying to get their input, they're sadly not the best when it comes to trying to be decisive. So, like I said, if you're in a group of women and you're the only man, ideally they're gonna unconsciously want you to lead, whether it's the next decision you guys make as a group, or maybe it's the next place to go ahead and visit as a group. Let's just say you're walking. There's gonna be certain things and certain tendencies that women will unconsciously do that kind of shows them that shows everyone that they want to be led to an extent. But nonetheless, the fact that women even defy this at all and nowadays is one of the saddest things that I've ever experienced. I'm gonna say this one more time, and because it is the facts, and I don't care what anybody says. Women are natural followers, and they want to be led. All women want this to an extent, right? Um, like I said, their inability to make firm decisions expresses this. And have you ever seen a woman make a firm decision? She's always, well, what about the other decision? She makes it. She makes a decision, and she's still not satisfied with the decision she made. Right? That's how you know. That's how you know that they're natural followers and they want to be led. Because if a man said, hey, well, this is the decision, they'll be more content with that decision, right? They'll be less like, oh, like, well, what about the other decisions? You'll see that less. You'll just see that less. We're supposed to be led by a man anyways, so it's okay. Yeah, I would agree. Like I said, I agree. Sadly, I have to mention that because, quite frankly, people are unaware of this. All right. If there's any specific things that you or specific questions that you have regarding female nature, make sure to leave in the comments. But I'm almost at the end of what I have to say. So, like I said, if I will be making a part two to this, whether you're watching this or watching this live, I definitely want your contribution because there's going to be a lot of things that I haven't yet mentioned. I want to say I mentioned most of what I have, um, but I haven't all the things that I've learned in my head. I need to somehow try to get them down on notes because there's a lot of things on female nature that I haven't mentioned on today's podcast, unfortunately. But getting to the next thing, this is something that I've seen time and time again, even in every single situation that I've ever been in with a woman when it comes to dating. I've seen this play out. So the best women have done this and unconsciously do this, and the worst women do this all the fucking time. Sadly, with this being said, women test a man's. I wrote this in my notes incorrectly. Women naturally test a man's ability to be competent, right? This is something I've seen time and time again. And like I said, the best women, in my opinion, and the worst women, they all do this. They try to see if your frame is as strong as you say it is. They will test you in little ways. And like I said, I would say when you typically say yes, women test men. Most people in general are gonna get probably a negative reaction out of that statement. But what I mean by that is this: there's gonna be certain tendencies or things that she does or questions that she asks you that she's expecting you to answer a certain way. She's testing you to see if you'll fold, right? Um, and like I said, these can be these can be little things, man. And like I said, I haven't given you great examples of this, but just know that these things are not exactly intentional, right? She doesn't question these certain things. Um, Women don't question these certain things because they want to be a person who tests you, right? They just unconsciously test, right? That's just something that they've done. They always do. They've always done. Um, Maybe they'll test you by talking to you a certain way, and they want to be put in their place. Maybe that's one of the things I've seen. I've seen that. Like I said, I've observed that time and time again. Or maybe it's I'm trying to think of the testing. Maybe it's testing you. This is an unconscious test. This is a perfect one. Maybe you need to get work done, and maybe she wants to lay down a little bit longer, and maybe she's trying to get a little bit more comfortable, right? That's an unconscious test. She wants to see if you're a man that's on your purpose and needs to go ahead and accomplish what you need to accomplish for the day. That's one of those things. Or maybe you should say, "Oh, you know what? You can skip the gym this day. You can skip the gym this day. I just want to lay with you. I just want to do this, right?" It sounds so innocent. It is innocent, right? And most of women's tests are innocent, but nonetheless, you still have to pass them, right? And that is going to be probably one of the most difficult things for men to do once they start getting super comfortable with the woman is to continuously pass their tests, their unconscious tests that they have. Um, but yeah, especially within dating, you'll see a woman ask you certain questions, or maybe she'll try to be decisive in a certain way where you'll need to go ahead and seriously check her, quite frankly. But nonetheless, yeah, it happens. Like I said, y'all can tell me all day that women don't test, but like Jaden had mentioned, right? Men test as well. Men test as well. They unconsciously test, and some men even consciously test, which I don't understand. But um, yeah, uh, testing in a dating sense is something that women unconsciously do. But their main goal is to check up on their man to make sure he's doing what he needs to do and is being the man that he needs to be for her, for them, for the kids, for all of that. So that's why they do that. So like I said, understanding it a little bit more is also going to help you kind of go about that, right? Getting into the next thing when it comes to female nature, and this is something that I mentioned a little bit earlier, but I kind of want to hit this point home because this is interesting. Women naturally date across and up dominance hierarchies. When a woman chooses you, she subconsciously tells you that you are more competent than her. Interesting. This was in my recommended. I appreciate you for stopping by, my guy. Like I said, if you have any questions when it comes to female nature, make sure you go and leave in the comments. But I've been talking for about a little under an hour about female nature. Like I said, if there's anything that maybe a certain tendency you see in women that you think is interesting, make sure you go ahead and leave in the comments. But like I said, women naturally date across and up dominance hierarchies. This is something that I've heard time and time again. But they're gonna want a man who's stronger than them, who's taller than them, who's smarter than them, who's funnier than them, who's more confident than them, who is more experienced than them in a lot of realms. There's gonna be very select amount of things that women truly want to be better than a man at, but usually those are going to come from more feminine qualities. But nonetheless, women date across and up in our dominance hierarchy. So, like I said, if a woman is choosing you, subconsciously she's saying that you are you are either this on the same level as she is or above the level that she is. Right? You're rarely going to see a woman that's dating down. That's truly dating down. You see a lot more men dating down than women. I'll say that. But yeah, I feel like a lot of women they kind of struggle with this type of argument, right? Let's just say, for example, are men and women equal conversation comes up, and then you look at this one simple fact that lies within female nature, and it defies everything. It defies truly everything. Because how can you say we're equal when you want a man when usually the man that you want is stronger than you, more competent than you, smarter than you, and funnier than you, more confident, more experienced, more maybe better looking, whatever it is. How can you say we're equal when you want a man that's literally better than you in a lot of different areas? How's that equal? How is that in any way, shape, or form equal? Right? But like I said, society will tell you, hey, men and women are equal. Don't believe that. Don't believe that lie because it is truly not true. Unfortunately, it's nothing more than just a lie. But nonetheless, I feel like that needs to be mentioned because I just hear it time and time again. And yeah, it is definitely part of women's nature. Like I said, they're hypergamous, so automatically they're going to want to date the best option that they possibly can. And with that being said, they're not going to date anybody lower than them that they perceive to be lower than them. Let's just say that. And one point that I'll wrap up the podcast with this last point. The reason why I want to mention these things is not to bash women in any specific way. All I'm trying to do is educate you on the observations that I've made and the observations that men have made about women over time. And I want to tell you how they are so you can never love them for what they're not, right? You should never despise women for how they are. Just love them for the way that they are and not expect them to be something that they're truly not, right? I feel like the reason why a lot of men have resentment, and I mentioned this on the beginning of the podcast, is because they try to love something that women aren't. They tried to put a woman in a box with something that they truly cannot be put in a box for. Um, and I think it is a true tragedy, right? Expectations kind of ruin their own expectations, their own expectations about a woman. I feel like it kind of gets ruined by themselves, but nonetheless, just try to understand women, right? This is something that I've done time and time again for the last few years, and something that I will continue to do because it is an interesting topic. And yeah, that's pretty much what all I have to say for today. This was episode 132, talking about female nature. I'll be making another podcast on this, and I'll probably be reiterating some points that I made on today's podcast. But like I had mentioned, if you're rewatching this or watching this live, I want you to go ahead and leave some comments. Maybe I missed a certain thing that you've observed within female nature that you think needs to be mentioned. I'll definitely mention it on the next one. But I'll give you guys a few more minutes if you're in the comments. If you have any specific questions that you want to ask, or any specific just points you want to make, or maybe you want to get my take on a certain thing, I want you to go and leave in the comments. But I'll give you guys the rundown as I'm doing this. But like I said, I'll give you guys the last like 7 minutes or so to go ahead and do that. So a few things I want to say. Never take a woman's word with the full truth. Women speak only on how they feel in the moment. Never hold a woman to her word completely, because for the most part, most women are not going to be able to keep their word. That is why it's called a man of your word, not a woman of your word. And like I said, you cannot blame a woman for changing up, because her emotions change up on her all the time. So you can't really blame her for that. Another thing that I learned about female nature is women have more impulsive tendencies, and unless they're within a masculine frame, they're going to be more susceptible to choosing impulsive decisions for their own life. Now you can go ahead and have plenty of different examples of this, but shopping is one of them. I'll say that for sure. Um, let's just say impulsive tendencies can be maybe to the type of posts that they have on social media. That can be another indication of maybe a more of an impulsive tendency. But there's going to be a lot of impulsive tendencies that women have that maybe are not exactly the same to men. But I'll probably give some more examples on the next podcast that I do, whenever that is. The next thing, when it comes to women, especially younger women, is they're drawn to men that are able to give them the variety of emotions. They want a man. Most women want a man um, who's going to be the happiest and saddest moment of their day. And you could say, "Oh yeah, well, I want a man who's just going to make me the happiest all the time." And a lot of women, they deal with that man for about like 2 weeks, and they're done with that man, because it's just not it. It's not as mentally stimulating. And women love to be mentally stimulated. I'll tell you that for damn sure. Men and women obviously love to be mentally stimulated. Women like to do that. Obviously, one way to mentally stimulate a woman is to give her emotion, right? Positive, the good, the bad, the good, the bad, the evil, the great, whatever it is. That is going to be one of those observations of female nature that is interesting. One thing I want to mention as well, and I haven't, I kind of mentioned this a little earlier, but I feel like it still needs to be mentioned. If you're a man watching this, one of man's biggest mistakes is trying to fully understand women, when in reality we'll never have a full understanding of something that truly doesn't even have a full understanding of itself. A lot of women don't understand women. They don't. A lot of women don't understand their emotions. A lot of women don't understand um, the ways in which they behave. And I'm not saying that to belittle women, or yeah, I'm not saying that to belittle women in any specific way, but um, I feel like a lot of where men get themselves wrong and get themselves angry, or any feeling any type of negative emotion towards women, is because they lack, and they wish to have a higher understanding for women. But you must try to observe that the ways in which they are, and move accordingly, right? Don't ever love a woman for what she can't be for you. That's all I have to say. A few things I want to say before I go and end it off. When it comes to female nature, a great observation that I've made is when she's, let's just say, not feeling the best, whether she's angry, whether she's sad, whatever negative emotion that is, or positive emotion that is, women love to be physically comforted, um, obviously with consent, but it is typically a great remedy for her more emotional moments. And yeah, if she's mad at you, try to give her a hug, man. Try to give her a hug. If she's sad, try to give her a hug. I feel like that should be the solution that a lot of men go with that I don't see happens enough. And I do believe that, sometimes that physical affection actually probably works better than a lot of conversations that you can have with a woman when it comes to when she's emotionally distraught. Like I said, you could take that for what it is. That is something that I've seen. I would say when a woman's feeling sad about something, I try to be understanding and empathetic, but at the same time, the only way you're really gonna get to her is by giving her that physical comfort, and I feel like that's gonna be her best way to relieve some of her emotional spikes. I'll say that. Um, if you one another thing I want to mention when it comes to female nature, women are empathetic to a fault and also loyal to a fault. So don't abuse women for these certain things. Like I said, a lot of women will compromise themselves when it comes to being empathetic. Maybe they'll put themselves in a situation or compromise themselves in a way, um, just to avoid inflicting drama or just to remain empathetic to somebody. And I think that's uniquely feminine. Also, with being loyal to a fault as well, I feel like a lot of women, um, I would say some women. This is not all women. Some women are definitely loyal to a fault. They'll accept things, accept ways of being from their partner that they might not necessarily accept from a man in the future, because they're just innately loyal. And I feel like that's just the way that they're built. They're built to be loyal. And if you see a woman that isn't loyal, she's broken, fellas. So get away from that. But yeah, loyal to a fault. Like I said, for example, right? I've had a conversation with multiple women when they talk about their man cheating or the previous man that they dated who have cheated. They're like, yeah, he cheated and I stayed, right? And they'll try to give me any explanation under the sun. And sadly, that just goes to show that women's nature is to be um, loyal to a fault. I'll say that. Obviously, I'm not saying that's a great thing at all. Like I said, I think it can be goofy at times. I'll say that. Getting into the next thing, obviously, women love to naturally gossip. That is just something that I've seen. They love to talk about trending things within society. They love to talk about other people, judging other people. That's innately female, in my opinion. I feel like women are definitely more interested in people, and men are more interested in things. And like I said, that would be uniquely to the feminine or to female nature. Getting into the next thing, I would say women naturally test. Right, one of the ways. Okay, women naturally test. They test to see if their man is in working best within his own frame. Women unconsciously test men to see if they're truly the man that they say that they are and truly the man that the woman needs. So make sure, as a man, make sure you recognize these certain little tests that women do and make sure you go ahead and pass these tests. Another thing I want to mention as well, two different types of terms, especially when it comes to female nature, that are very, very important. Ones that I learned very, very early on, but yet needs to be mentioned as well. First, hypergamy. Hypergamy is basically um, women dating up and across dominance hierarchies. Basically, they want a man who's more competent, more smart, um, funnier, more confident, better looking than them. Right? They date up and across dominance hierarchies. With that being said, yeah. With that being said, they just like men that are truly better than them. I'll say that. And it sounds terrible, but like I said, it is the way it is. Also, pre-selection, another term that is definitely one of these more interesting terms. Pre-selection is basically understanding that women will be more attracted to you if they see you around other women, right? If they see, let's just say they've seen some of your exes that you've dated and they've been very, very attractive. She's ideally probably going to be a little bit more attracted to you based off of that, regardless of the way you look. Let's just say you're a 6 out of 10, but she's seen you with maybe some sevens and eights, maybe even some nines. She's automatically going to be more attracted to you as opposed to she didn't see you with those types of women. So that is going to be one thing that I would say women like to deny. Um, Pre-selection, right? Oh yeah, I don't like him. I don't like him. I want a man that is attractive only to me and not attractive to other women. Bullshit. It's just impossible. It's impossible. But yeah, pre-selection is a real thing, fellas. If she sees you around a lot of women, she's gonna be more attracted to you. Why? Because it could potentially signal a lot of things about you, like your level of competence in many different realms. And obviously, women love competence. So Maybe it suggests that you're more competent, and obviously, if you didn't have those women around, if you wouldn't be able to have women around if you weren't competent. So pre-selection, a real thing as well. Another thing is this: when it comes to female nature, I'll run these down really quickly. Women will do anything and everything to avoid being a social outcast, and I feel like that is something that is definitely interesting as well. Women, in my opinion, are more herd-like thinkers, and they're naturally followers. So with that being said, if they see a trend, they're more likely to follow it than a man, right? Um, but yeah, women will do any and everything to not be a social outcast. They'll buy different clothes. They'll start to do things that they might not even like just because it's trending, and they'll know it's socially accepted. Um, they'll do it, like I said, even if they don't particularly like that themselves, whether it's a certain brand or whether it's there's a lot of different examples that could be used, but nonetheless, women will do anything and everything to avoid being a social outcast, and that is just female nature. A few things I want to mention. Yeah, women are, like I said, when it comes to female nature, I would say women are the biggest victims of instant gratification. So if you don't know what instant gratification is basically saying I want to feel good, but I want to feel good right now instead of later, right? Women are going to be, um, they're going to be punished less if they choose that decision that suggests them getting instant gratification as opposed to a man. Like I said, this is something that I would say is uniquely talking about the female energy because if you're a man and you indulge within instant gratification. You'll be playing video games. You'll be eating ice cream. You'll be eating junk food. You won't be going to the gym. You won't be working hard. You won't be pursuing meaning. You won't have any women, right? And that is going to be all things that would suggest that you are a man that is choosing instant gratification. And with that being said, life definitely can still reward a woman for choosing instant gratification, even though it's not the best for a person. Period. When it comes to a man, like I said, life will teach a man a very, very hard lesson when it comes to instant gratification if he chooses to be a man who's indulging within that. So that is definitely something uniquely to the feminine energy. With that being said, what else do I got to say? I already mentioned that. Mentioned that. Yeah, and yeah, I pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. So if you guys have any last second thoughts, go ahead and leave in the comments. But other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this one off here in a minute. I'll give you guys one more minute. All right. But yes, like I said, I'll be making a part two to this. So, like I said, if you're watching this or watching this live, I definitely need your comments. I would love your contribution because it could definitely make for some better content for sure. But yeah, this is definitely a long overdue um, podcast because this is something that I've researched and something that has intrigued me and it intrigues a lot of men, I would say, since the beginning of time. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say for today's podcast. But yeah, fellas, this was the Life of a Champ podcast, episode 132. I've already said this. Talking about female nature, part one. I'll be having multiple parts for sure. But I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all working these motherfuckers because you know that I am, man. Come on now, you already know what time it is. Y'all have a good night and stay tuned in for the next podcast, which is going to be on Tuesday. I'll be having a music live stream somewhat next week. There might be some new music dropping next week, so tap in with that for sure. And other than that, y'all have a good night. Like I said, tap in Monday and tap in Monday and Tuesday. Y'all have a good night, man.